General, are you paying John Solomon? He like sets you up perfectly, man.
Yeah, I've been in touch with John a long time. I've known John a long time. He's just a terrific investigative journalist. His entire team is extraordinary. He's broken more stories on this. I want people to understand, because I know we were going to talk briefly about maybe the war in Iran and all this other business, but you have a giant audience. You have an audience that pays close attention to everything that's going on, and we are almost a decade into an attempted overthrow of the United States of America. I can't say it any more clearly than that. And it was led by a group of people, principally Barack Obama, former president of the United States, 2 terms, was right at the forefront of it. They tried in 2016. They succeeded in 2020. They failed in 2024. There is going to be clear evidence that's going to come out about foreign interference in our elections that was supported and enabled by people inside of our own government. The level and the depth of infiltration by foreign adversaries inside of the most important parts of our national security apparatus in our government is not a joke. It's not a theory. It is very real. It's been going on for a long time. I do believe that people like Kash Patel, Andrew Bailey, I guess is his name. I don't know him. Pam Bondi, and I would tell you the entire White House, the entire executive branch that Donald Trump put in is overwhelmed. They are overwhelmed, and they're overwhelmed by what John Solomon just laid out. And people can go look at his current article about all these 4 different things. I mean, we don't even hear about Ukraine and Russia anymore. We're barely hearing about Venezuela because Trump gets asked by it, and he says, "Yeah, we're working great with Delcy Rodriguez, who's basically running the same criminal cartel that Maduro ran." We're in the midst of a war in Iran, and God knows how long that's going to last. I've been very clear about how long these things last. It's unknown. At some point in time, President Trump's going to have to figure out what are the conditions for victory and declare it, and then say it and pretend like as though we actually achieved it. I'm at a place now in my life, and I'm also at a place now where we are in this country. We are still in the midst of this overthrow, Benny, and your audience needs to know it. And I'm not kidding. I'm not joking. I'm not a lightweight in this business. This is who I've been and what I have been doing for my entire life. They came after me as target number 1 early on in the 2016, 2017 Trump administration for very good reason. And it's not just the left. There are elements inside of the Republican establishment in Washington, D.C. and other parts of our country that are so against Donald Trump. They so want him to go away. They want this notion of MAGA to just disappear. And I'm here to tell you that it is not. The American people, like the Japanese said, don't awaken the American giant, right? The sleeping giant. Well, the American people, because of people like you, Benny, and others, there are other independent voices out there that have stood on the hilltops, the mountaintops, and have said, we're going to say what we believe needs to be said. We're going to bring people on our shows. We're going to promote these types of things. And the advent of social media, the advent of an expanded internet, artificial intelligence, we are not going to stand down from this overthrow because it is very, very real. They're not done. And this is where Trump has to have, these moments of reflection like Abraham Lincoln or many other presidents in the past when they were under really trying times. He's going to have silent moments of reflection, whether or not he, speaks to God Almighty or talks to a wall, but he's going to have these moments of reflection where he's going to have to say, what is it that I need to do as president of the United States that only I can do to be able to preserve the Constitution of the United States of America? Never mind protecting and defending it, but preserve it, because it is a very fragile experiment, as our founders taught us. And we are in a moment of history right now that I think if we don't cross some T's and dot some I's right now, never mind what John Solomon just said, but what we're doing over in the Middle East, what we're doing in Venezuela, Europe, but particularly right here at home, if we don't get this right, if we don't hold these people accountable, they will not go away and they will come at us even harder. And that's what I want Trump and his team to focus on, because as I said earlier, and I'll get off my high horse, I do believe that there's a little bit of overwhelming going on here with some of the people that are running these organizations. Kash Patel, Pam Bondi. Marco Rubio, he jokes about how many jobs he's got. Pete Hegseth, Tulsi, all of them. Because below that layer, Benny, and for your audience, below that layer of these great talented people that President Trump put into these really important jobs, below that layer are a bunch of hardcore leftists, communists, whatever ism you want to use. And it's like 95%. There's very, very few people that are following Trump's agenda. They are not. Trump will sign an executive order. Those executive orders will not be adhered to. Hell, we can't even get the Republican Party, the Republican in the Senate or the House, certainly the Senate, to pass an ID check for our voting. I mean, that ought to tell everybody everything as how hard this is going to be. And this fight that we are waging internally, as Abraham Lincoln said, we're not going to die because of an overseas threat. We're going to die because of our own suicide. And he said that at the age of 28 years old. So that has not gone away. And now we are at a place in our history, in our nation's history, at our 250th year mark, where I want to be optimistic and I want to be rose-colored glasses here, but we are being challenged. And, and guys like John Solomon, guys like you are projecting or letting us know about these things. Thank God that we have your voices, and there's other voices out there too. But without them, we'd be listening to the likes of CNN and the mainstream. That's right. And we call it mainstream media. It's a fake news media. So anyway.
General, I know that you are up against a hard out, and I apologize that we have to cut this short. You're welcome to stay as long as you want, but just perhaps then a last question, if I only get one more. The raid in Maricopa County. You've done so much. John Solomon just broke some huge news saying that there is going to be news stories that will break soon that will switch the votes of senators on the SAVE Act and will change everything. Can you, and you've done so much work on this, and you worked with the president on it. I know you've flown around the world, and you've fortified the election here from being stolen and rigged in 2024. You don't get enough credit for that. What are they going to find in Fulton? What are they going to find in Maricopa? What is the big kahuna here?
Yeah, I think we're going to find that there are people serving in Congress and serving in other state offices that didn't win those elections. So we have, just like Joe Biden. So we're going to find that they're going to find criminal activities, particularly in as they have in Fulton County and of course Maricopa County. But those are tactics of the broader strategy. But I think what we're going to find is we're going to be looking at the results, the real results, once we lay them out. And many of them have started to get laid out, particularly in Fulton County, because they're already down into the weeds of that. And we're going to see people that are serving in elected offices that were not elected. That's not a constitutional republic. That's a criminal enterprise.
Yes. Do you think Maduro is going to say anything on this, given that so much of the Venezuelan software, and I know you know this very, very well, was operated by his regime?
Yep. Yeah. The short answer is yes. And there's others that they have in custody that are also divulging great amounts of information for the first time, because they now know that President Trump means business. I mean, so yes, I think we're already learning a lot of things. And I think that is driving some of the things that we are seeing the FBI, the Department of Justice doing.
General, our team is telling us that you have to go. We don't want to be rude. You're welcome back. We didn't even get really a chance to talk about Iran. I hope that you can come back and join us for that.
Yeah, maybe another 24 hours. But Benny, thank you so much. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for your great audience, and keep doing what you're doing, because you're one of those big voices out there that we need right now.
Godspeed, General. Everybody follow General Michael Flynn. You probably already do. He's got millions and millions of subscribers. Just one of those guys that changes the world in a good way. Thank you, General.
God bless.